I grew up thinking we were poor. Every day, I watched my parents struggle, work tirelessly, and sacrifice everything just to get by. I thought I knew our life, but one day, I discovered a secret that changed everything. My parent wasn't poor. They were secretly a millionaire, and I had no idea. I grew up in a small, old house in a quiet neighborhood. Our home was modest, with cracked walls, a tiny kitchen, and a living room that felt cramped most days. But what struck me most wasn't the house itself. It was the feeling that every day was a battle. My parents worked long hours, often silently arguing about bills I didn't understand. I remember sitting at the kitchen table staring at the few coins in my hand, wondering if it would be enough to buy even the smallest treat. I wore hand-me-down clothes, walked to school with worn shoes, and sometimes went without things my classmates had. But my parents always told me, "We may not have much, but we have each other." And at the time, I believed them. I thought this was life, the reality of our existence. I never questioned it. I never thought that maybe there was more than what I saw. Even though I accepted our life, I still dreamed. I dreamed of new shoes that fit, school supplies that weren't patched together, a small treat here and there. I would walk past stores and imagine owning the things I saw, wondering if life would ever allow it. I remember seeing classmates with brand new gadgets and new clothes, and feeling a mix of envy and curiosity. I wanted more, but I was also proud of what we had. Somehow, I thought life was about working hard and being grateful for what you get. Those dreams became my secret companions. They were whispers of hope in a life that felt limited. Little did I know, those dreams were about to collide with a reality far stranger than I ever imagined. Looking back, there were signs, subtle hints that our life wasn't exactly what I thought it was. My parent would leave the house at strange hours claiming work. Sometimes there were envelopes or letters they never opened in front of me. They had friends I never met, and sometimes I'd overhear quiet phone conversations about things I didn't understand. At the time, I didn't think much of it. I assumed everyone had secrets, that life had things adults just didn't explain to children. But now I realize those were breadcrumbs leading to a truth I was nowhere near ready to understand. It all started with a curious afternoon. I was cleaning out the attic, an old dusty place filled with forgotten boxes. As I sifted through them, my hand landed on a small envelope with my name on it. I opened it slowly, expecting perhaps an old note or photo. Inside there were papers, bank statements, property deeds, investment records. At first I didn't understand what they were, numbers, accounts, and addresses. It looked like adult nonsense. But as I looked closer, something clicked. The documents weren't just ordinary. They suggested a life far wealthier than the one I knew. My heart started racing. Could this really be real? A few days later, I found a small safe hidden behind a painting. Curiosity overpowered my hesitation. I opened it carefully, almost afraid of what I might find. Inside, stacks of cash, gold bars, documents proving ownership of multiple properties, bank accounts, and investments. My mind couldn't process it. Everything I believed about our life, about the sacrifices, about struggling to survive, it was all a lie. My parent had money, more than I ever imagined. They were a millionaire, secretly. For a moment, I couldn't breathe. I felt disbelief, shock, and a wave of emotions I couldn't name. Why hide this? Why let me grow up thinking we were struggling, when all along, we had everything? I decided I had to know the truth. I confronted my parent one evening, my hands shaking, heart pounding. Why didn't you tell me? I asked. Why let me grow up thinking we were poor? They looked at me calmly, and slowly, they explained. They wanted me to understand the value of hard work, humility, and perseverance. They didn't want money to define my life. They wanted me to grow up learning lessons that money could never teach. At first, I felt anger and betrayal. How could they keep such a huge secret? But then, as I listened, I began to understand. Perhaps there was more love in this secret than I realized. The days after my discovery were a whirlwind. I kept thinking about all the childhood moments I'd experienced, every hardship, every struggle, every just enough meal. It all had a new meaning. Was it real? Were my memories of struggle lies? Or were they lessons? I felt confusion, guilt, and even gratitude all at once. I spent hours replaying moments in my mind, trying to reconcile the life I knew with the life I had discovered. It was like living in two worlds at once, the past I had grown up with, and the present truth that changed everything. Slowly, I started seeing things differently. Money isn't everything. It could buy comfort, security, and opportunities, but it couldn't teach me resilience, empathy, or gratitude. All the hard times I thought were hardships were shaping me into someone who could handle life with strength and patience. I realized that perhaps my parents' secret wasn't cruelty or deception. It was a gift. I had been rich all along, not in wealth, but in lessons, in love, and in family. Eventually, I shared the secret with my siblings. Their reactions were varied. Some were shocked, others angry, and some couldn't believe it at all. It was strange, seeing how one truth could hit people so differently. But the most important thing was the understanding that family isn't just about money. It's about the lessons, love, and choices made along the way. I began revisiting my childhood memories, counting coins, patching clothes, eating simple meals. These weren't just struggles, they were lessons. I saw my parents' sacrifices not as lack, but as intentional acts to shape who I became. Every lesson, every hardship, every moment of perseverance was designed to prepare me for life, and now I understood it. From this experience, I learned three important things. 1. True wealth isn't money. It's love, lessons, and experiences. 2. Sacrifice can be intentional and meaningful, even if it seems unfair at the time. 3. Life is about gratitude, perspective, and understanding that what we often see isn't the full story. These lessons changed how I view my life, my family, and the world. Today, I no longer feel cheated or betrayed. Instead, I feel gratitude. I grew up thinking we were poor, but in reality, I was rich all along. In love, in family, and in life itself. I understand now that some truths are hidden for a reason. Some lessons come wrapped in secrets. And the most important wealth isn't in money. It's in understanding, compassion, and the life we build from what we are given. And that is the story of how I discovered my parent was a secret millionaire, and how it changed not only my childhood memories but my entire perspective on life.